Ramakrishna te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Today's subject, the influence of thought. It is very important to analyze the significance of what we think. We are very careless about what we think, so we find the result accordingly in our life. Everything is in our hands. If you want to enjoy peace, it is possible. If you want to have suffering, it is possible. Whatever you want, it is possible. But everything is possible to you, and everyone has that power. He can undo the things. He can do most wonderful things. So everything depends upon what we think. As you sow the seed, so you reap. Thought is like a seed. Once you initiate the thought in your mind, it begins to give result. Swami Vivekananda, the great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who gave the most wonderful message of Vedanta to the West, he defined thought as a force, as is gravitation or repulsion. From the infinite storehouse of force in nature, the mind stuff called chitta takes hold of some, absorbs it, and sends it out as thought. Force is supplied to us through food, and out of that food the body obtains the power of motion, etc. Others, the finer forces, it throws out in what we call thought. So, it is a tremendous force. It shapes our lives. Not only that, to a considerable extent, it influences the lives of others. Most of its workings are underneath the surface. In our busy life, we are unconscious of its powers. It is the motive power which drives the machine of body and senses. All our activities are preceded by thought. First, the man thinks, then he acts. That means an action is the outer manifestation of the inner thought. Therefore, thought controls all our actions. Accomplishment of great works needs great thoughts. Thought itself is a motion and it has distinct vibrations. These vibrations go forth and spread like fine particles. They are not confined to space and time. They live and travel far. The modern medical technology has found fantastic facts about how thoughts affect the body. The pervasive effect of cheerfulness or depression on all beings is self-evident. Swami Chidananda ji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, has explained the power of thought through an incident. An experiment was made upon a healthy young man. He was going to job every day. Some of his friends put their heads together to give a suggestion to his mind without letting him know that they were doing it. So, as usual, the young man started out of his home. Just when he came out of his home, he was met by one of his friends who was standing at the street corner. He looked at him and said, "My dear friend, how is it you look very sick today? Did anything happen to you? What's the matter? Why you look so strange today? You're not looking as a normal person would look. Are you really sick?" Again and again, he is driving those thoughts in these expressions. The young man just replied, "No, I'm quite okay, I'm very strong, I'm very healthy, no trouble at all with me." Then he continued his walking towards the office. Then second time he met some other friend. He also said the same thing. So like that, before he reached his office, he was met by 6 friends. All these 6 friends of him were asking him the same question, "Why you are not well today? It seems you are sick. It seems you are depressed, you are not looking well. What's the matter?" etc. Those friends had discussed themselves to make an experiment on him, not knowing that they would experiment on him. So when all these friends are putting that question to him, this young man nearly began to think, was it a fact? It got into his nerves. So as soon as he reached the office, the young man thought within himself, oh, I don't feel very well now. What's the matter with me? All my friends say I am sick. I must be sick. After a few hours, he began to feel the effect of that, and he was convinced that he was sick with high fever. So he could not do anything, any job in the office. He came back home, laid on the bed, called in a doctor. All these things happened. This young man suffered like this for a time from the effect of these suggestions. Next day, all these friends came to him and said that it was all a joke. They simply wanted to make a joke, so they asked him like that. See the effect of that. Either positive or negative thought sometimes works miracles on the human body and mind. Even plants and animals respond to the power of thoughts. That is why we always say, try to be more and more associated with good-natured people, people whose character is well established. Holy people, Mahatmas, who always love and pray for everyone, become associated with such people. That is very important to cleanse your mind. We have seen how that when some persons come close to us, or when we are in some association, we feel repulsive. We often say, oh, we don't like this atmosphere. Why? Because of the repulsion. On the contrary, some others, they generate good feelings of attraction towards them. You would like to go and meet such people off and on. You'll be happy to meet them, you'll be happy to be in their association. Even though you may not talk with them, but you just love to be there in that atmosphere. Suppose as soon as you come to a place, if you feel immense peacefulness, you see immediately how you give expression to it. Oh, so wonderful it is. I was so happy to meet, to see the place. So, there's a tremendous force of attraction. Though these two categories of people, some people generate anti-forces, some people generate attracting forces. Though they may not be known to us, yet we feel mysterious liking or disliking for them. What is the reason? The reason is found to be, it is because an account of their bad tendencies are surrounded by inimical vibrations, the result of their unhealthy thoughts, we get repulsed. Whereas good persons radiate beneficial and friendly vibrations. We have seen how people would come to see Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. Once they would come to talk to him, they would love to come again and again, and they would be absorbed in what Sri Ramakrishna was talking to them. They would feel immense peacefulness and joy in the heart. So every person is to some degree sensitive to these thought vibrations in others and is vaguely aware of the dominant features of their character, either good or bad. For the same reason, people do not like to stay in some places for any length of time, while to some other places they are drawn again and again. That means the places too have their pure and impure psychic environments which directly act upon the minds either positively or negatively. There's a Sanskrit quotation from Nardabhak Sutra which tells Tirthani tirthi kurvanti. A place becomes holy or unholy depending on the thought currents of the people associating the place. Suppose you go to a bar, immediately you will have all the vibrations regarding the bar there. Whatever the vibrations are there, they just influence upon you. Suppose you go to a restaurant, different atmosphere. So every place has got its own vibrations, saturated vibrations. Suppose you go to a chapel, the atmosphere is entirely different, where there is regular meditation, regular prayers, regular worship, and people follow discipline, maintain silence. All these things help to make the place saturated with fine, holy vibrations. That's why you feel when you come into the chapel, you feel immensely happy because of this wonderful, healthy, good, holy vibrations. Suppose you go to a marketplace, entirely it is different. Even the most peaceful mind gets disturbed if he goes there. So, it's very important how the environment acts. Suppose you go to a semi-dark cave or a humble cottage of a holy person, or even the home of an unpretentious devotee of the Lord, it fills your heart with peace and joy. Thoughts are powerful enough to spawn an ocean of change in our environment. Our thoughts change the environment, and the environment in turn acts upon us. Thought therefore is a potent instrument like nuclear energy. Either we can use it for the welfare of humanity or misuse it to bring about the mass destruction. In the complete works of Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda has given a lucid rationale behind the existence of temples and churches. Every day of our lives, we throw out a mass of good or evil, and everywhere we go, the atmosphere is full of these materials. That is how there came to the human mind unconsciously the idea of building temples and churches. Why should man build churches in which to worship God? Why not worship Him anywhere? Even if we did not know the reason, man found that the place where people worshipped God became full of psychic impressions. Every day people go there, and the more they go, the holier they get, and the holier the place becomes. If any man has not much sattva in him, suppose he goes there, the place will influence him and arouse his sattva quality. Here therefore is the significance of all temples and holy places. But we must remember that their holiness depends on the holy people congregating there. This is the rationale behind all sacred places and shrines where people go to spend time in that purifying atmosphere. That's why we always suggest people to make use of the temple properly. That means not to engage oneself in talks that are not conducive to the welfare of the atmosphere. We always tell the people not to talk of politics, etc. Suppose people make use of that place for making conferences dealing with politics and worldly matters, then it loses all its holy vibrations. So, we have to be extra careful in maintaining the good vibrations of the place. So a place becomes sanctified by the vibrations of pure thoughts, or it becomes holy where a great saint lived and touched the feet of God. To give the latest example, Dakshineshwar temple in Calcutta, where Sri Ramakrishna lived and practiced spiritual sadhanas and realized, experienced the vision of the Divine Mother. How the whole place has become so sanctified, all people go and offer their worship. So the power and influence of pure thoughts, they don't vanish with time, but even after centuries, a place associated with a great saint exerts its immense divine influence and infuses into the hearts of visitors sublime thoughts and peace. The places sanctified by Sri Ramachandra, Sri Krishna, Buddha, Christ, Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother. Even now, they draw several thousands of people and kindle in their hearts devotion and bliss. So where the regular worship is done in a very orthodox way, there the power of God manifests fully. That's why we often suggest to people, if they have got any problems, to go and offer worship in a particular temple, sit there for a few minutes and pray to the God. Your problems would be solved. And it is possible that such things happen. Once one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna was touring South India. He came to a temple. There's a big temple. South India is full of temples. Temple architecture, if you want to enjoy the beauty of them, you will have to go to South India. Huge temples. Fantastic. There he visited Meenakshi temple, where the Divine Mother is being worshipped. Very ancient temple, very nicely built. When Swami Brahmananda, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, when he went there and stood before the deity in the temple, he went into ecstasy within a few seconds. And then he remarked to the friends later, here there is full glory of the Divine Mother. I saw the Divine Mother in this temple, in this image. She was blissful and blessing all the people coming into the temple, praying to her. The same Swami, when he went to Tirupati, there is another famous temple in South India, there also he saw. He could see the visible manifestation of God. So that shows where the worship is properly done, and Mahatmas go and do tapas there, the whole place becomes a place of attraction. Ironically, the man forgets that it is he who makes a place holy or unholy. Swami Vivekananda further said, the difficulty with man is that he forgets the original meaning and puts the cart before the horse. It was man who made these places holy. And then the effect became the cause and made men holy. The cause and effect came into operation. If the wicked only were to go there, it would become as bad as any other place. It is not the building, therefore, but the people that make a church. And that is what we always forget. That is why sages and holy persons who have much of the sattva quality can send it out and exert tremendous influence day and night on their surroundings. A man may become so pure that his purity will become tangible. Whoever comes in contact with him becomes pure. Even the animals, the wild animals in the forest, they become gentle by the presence of the saint. The sattvic vibrations emanating from holy men are so strong that dishonesty, untruth and violence tremble to face them. The association of such holy people is joyous and elevating. A few minutes talk with them unburdens a great load of trouble and agony from the heart. So we should be very careful about what we think. So we should organize our thinking. Organizing thinking is important. So, if you read good books, they generate good thoughts in the mind and will have wonderful effect of them. These thoughts, good or evil, don't remain confined within our heads, however we try. Once they have taken shape, they spread out like particles into the outer space, creating waves and ripples. There they accumulate like condensed clouds and in their turn affect the minds of others. So people become horrified at the mere mention of ruthless dictators. It is undeniable fact that they were the creation of the collective mass thought of humanity. The ocean of destructive thoughts accumulated over the centuries found their expression in these despots. Mere thoughts are like tiny wavelets that at last combine into one fine giant wave that stands up and swallows up the rest. The same logic holds good in the descent of messengers of God like Krishna, Buddha and Sri Ramakrishna and other great incarnations. The pious thoughts and prayers of the race found expression in the forms of these divine personalities. The world was flooded with love and light by their advent. So, it is an inexorable law that what we want we get, and what we desire depends entirely on our thoughts. If the world sees the rise of tyrants, people cannot simply absolve themselves from their secret share and desire in inviting such calamities on earth. These tyrants are the representatives of man's dark side, his evil thoughts. When the people are truthful, righteous, peace-loving, and feel that they belong to the global family, surely they contribute to the fund of positive and auspicious thoughts that purify the atmosphere and make the world habitable. Generations born in such healthy, joyful environment inherit these qualities and add their own share to enrich it. That is the real cultural evolution. From savage to discriminating man, and then to man of kindness and love, and finally to man divine. All beings are here on this planet to unfold that latent cosmic intelligence. Another important point which we should remember in this context: all the beings have a kind of aura about them, the bioluminescence. This aura changes its colors, becomes dim or bright according to one's thought patterns. If you are angry, the aura changes its colors. If you are jealous, again it changes its colors. So whatever you think, accordingly the color of the aura changes. seers and spiritually gifted holy people detect easily these auras that surround the people. It's a simple matter for them to know who is deceitful or wicked or a good person. Sometimes even ordinary people, though not having a developed ability to discern the spiritual auras of other people, do occasionally have the flash of intuition enabling them to see into others' character. Now we have seen in the lives of great people like Sri Ramakrishna Holy Mother, we find ample evidence of this power working. Just anybody coming in front of Sri Ramakrishna, he could at a glance read the inner character of them within seconds, like an open book. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, whenever a person comes to him, a new person, he would ask him, "Come on, let me see your hand." He would touch his hand, he would hold his hand, he would see his hand, and tell whether a person is deceitful or guileless. Whether a person is good or bad can also be known from the way he walks. Sri Ramakrishna would make all these observations and classify the people accordingly. Greatly sensitive as he was to the environment around him, he would experience excruciating pain when a person of uncertain character touched him. Sharda Devi, the consort of Sri Ramakrishna, she too had this tremendous power of sensitivity. You know, many people would go to her to receive her blessings. Many people would come and ask for initiation from the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. As soon as those direct disciples see these people, they would simply be shocked to find out how terrible the wrongs they have done in their lives and how it is nearly impossible for them to cleanse them. In fact, they would see tremendous poison. The whole system, 90% of the system has become poisoned. How to clean it? It requires tremendous power of spirituality, no doubt. So, what they would do, they would tell them nicely, "Please go to Mother." They will all come to Holy Mother. And Holy Mother was there. She was not afraid of any poison. And the poison, when it would come and touch her, the poison would lose its effect. So when people came to see Holy Mother, touched her feet, she would feel immense pain on her feet. Why? Because of the wrongs, the effect of the wrongdoings of those people. So those vibrations would cause pain on her feet. But she had such power of purity and perfection, she would just bear them. One day, Swami Brahmanand, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, when he was young, he was coming to Sri Ramakrishna more often. And every day his spiritual ideas become strengthened in his heart. That is how Sri Ramakrishna trained all these disciples. Each one became very great later on. One day, Swami Brahmananda had come to visit Sri Ramakrishna. As soon as Sri Ramakrishna saw him, he just asked him why there was a shadow of darkness on his face. Have you done anything wrong? What's the matter? The disciple was astonished, in wonder, because he couldn't remember to have done anything wrong. But then because Master is asking that question, so there must be something that he might have done. So he began to contemplate on that. After a long time of thinking, he recollected, yes, he has done one wrong thing. He recollected it after long thinking. What was that? He told a lie in fun. He told a lie in fun. When he disclosed this, Sri Ramakrishna warned him not to tell a lie even in joke. See? All these things are important to maintain your purity. Simply go on talking loosely, all sorts of things. So mind also becomes loose on account of that. In 1939, an experiment was made in Russia. It provided scientific proof with the invention of high-frequency photography, the existence of auras around living beings. A leaf was taken from a tree. It was placed in a field of high-frequency current. It revealed a myriad dots of energy. A human hand placed in the high-frequency field looked like the Milky Way on a starry night. Multicolored flares lit up, then flashes and sparks. It looked like a fireworks display. The scientists also saw in living things the signals of the inner state of the organism reflected in the brightness, dimness and color of the flares. They found these light hieroglyphics were the written records of the inner life activities of a human being. They also detected that emotions, illness, worries and thoughts changed the colored signals of the flares. All these make up distinctive imprints on the form of the aura. The scientists, the Kirlian couple, the Kirlian technique was successfully demonstrated in 1972 at Manhattan's United Engineering Center by two scientists. The Kirlian photos also showed that some sort of energy flowed from psychic healers into the bodies of their patients. Human thoughts not only affect human beings but other living things as well. Again, the experiments were made in the laboratories in America. The scientists have demonstrated through their experiments that seeds planted, irradiated with human goodwill and blessings, showed 84% faster growth than the seeds planted without such human treatment of prayers and goodwill. Another experiment was made. Seeds were divided into two groups of equal number. They were placed in a shallow container filled with all these were placed in a container. When these things were placed in a container, a thread was placed down the middle of the container, dividing the seeds into two sides, A and B. The seeds on one side were prayed for and others were not. After the seeds had grown, the slender rice shoots, the rice seeds they had kept there, they were counted. Results consistently indicated that there were more rice shoots in the treated side than in the control side. This test was repeated many times. They indicated that the effect of thought on the living organisms outside the human body was significant, quantifiable and reproducible, and that the effects of human consciousness are not confined to the brain and body. Experiments were also conducted with striking success on unhealthy seeds, and the result showed that human thought exerted a positive effect on them. Plants are very sensitive, and their height of sensitivity is much superior to human senses. The name of the scientist, Glen Baxter, the foremost lie detector of America. In 1966, he startled the world of science by a repeatedly successful experiment in the lie detection which he made with a plant. In the experiment, the plant was connected with a galvanometer. A galvanometer's needle moves when a weak electric current passes through the body of the machine. The needle or pen of the galvanometer, which was connected to the plant, traced various kinds of curves in response to the mental changes or the slightest surge of emotion in the person standing in front of the plant. The plant showed its reactions like a human being. It reacted when a man with a lighted matchstick approached the plant to burn it, or when a ferocious dog suddenly appeared in the room, or when there was an entrance of a person who did not wish it well. The plant even displayed memory by identifying from a distance a certain culprit who did something wrong in its presence. These things are recorded in Swami Chidananda, one of the members of Ramakrishna Mission. He has written a book, Holistic Science and Vedanta. All these things have been discussed there. Thought is not confined to one's own brain and body. It travels and acts upon whether it is directed, wherever it is directed and projected. Our good wishes, sincere prayers, otherwise have no significance. That's why we always insist upon constant prayer. In fact, according to Hindu tradition, every day you should pray for the welfare of the humanity. Every day. All the time during your worship, you must offer prayers for the welfare of humanity. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchid dukkha bhag bhavet. That all the people in the world be happy. That all the people be free from miseries. That all people live in peace. This way you have to pray wholeheartedly. It has got its tremendous effect. The same truth holds good, that the evil thoughts born out of ill will do sufficient harm to others. That's why you find world full of mixture of good and evil. Why? Because of the mixture of good and bad thoughts. Millions of people generate every moment millions of thoughts into the atmosphere. Good thoughts as well as bad thoughts. So you feel the effect of it. There is no point in why there is good and evil, because of your own thinking. So thought is at the root of everything. Thoughts of greed, thoughts of hatred, envy, they are terrible. They are vicious forces. But it is also the law of nature that whatever one sends out comes back to him with redoubled energy. Sinful thoughts, what do? After polluting the atmosphere, they go back to the sender with great force, which he cannot escape. A wicked person not only harms himself, but invites calamity on himself. The evil forces let loose by a person come back to him with all vehemence and destroy him totally. Auspicious, compassionate, and loving thoughts set out for the good of others, after purifying the atmosphere, they go back to the sender. The power of good packed in them suffuse the sender with peace and joy and protect him from the invisible inimical forces that are lurking in the atmosphere. Swami Vivekananda said, every thought of love sent out by us is sure to awaken a thought of love in response. So too with every unloving thought. So be careful about thinking. Evil thoughts attract their own kind hovering in the universe. Thoughts of love and kindness draw the same thoughts from the atmosphere. Swami Vivekananda further said that the easiest way to make ourselves healthy is to see others are healthy. And the easiest way to make ourselves happy is to see others are happy. So this is the way how we should organize our thought force. We should not take it for granted. Everything is to be done in a proper way. Think positively, think good thoughts, be conscious of what you are thinking. That's the only way to improve your life. That's the only way to enjoy peace and joy in the life. So the influence of thought is immense and it is very powerful. Whatever you have done, that comes back to you with redoubled force and it acts upon you. So we have to be very careful about what you are thinking. That's why we always insist upon reading good books, praying all the time, initiate good thoughts in the mind. Remember the loving influence of God. All these noble attributes we keep on thinking and thinking, this deep thinking on these qualities make our character. When the character is well established, then we realize our true self. With these words, I conclude my talk. Thank you.